Hey, it's me, Maggie J. Today with a recap and review of the third episode of Reservation Dogs Season 2. This one is called Roofing because Bear has gotten himself a job and today is his first day. Before he can head out, he's got to age up his tool belt, aka kick it around the yard so it looks used. Otherwise, his co-workers are going to make fun of him for being the new guy. As he tells his mom, little does he know, they're going to make fun of him no matter what because, number one, this is construction, and number two, they're natives. Neither of these types of people are going to let you do anything without giving you some kind of shit about it. These are the perks of the job. So these guys, Mark, Don, and Charlie, pick Bear up for work, and look, it's the TikTok Ocean Spray skateboard guy who tells Bear he could have been his dad since he used to mess around with Rita. In the last episode, a woman at Auntie B said she could have been Bear's mama because she used to mess around with Pumpkin. I don't know why it's so important that everybody know who people used to mess around with back when they were supposedly young and dumb, but I know this trope and it can die at any time. Nobody would miss it. Especially not those being told, I fucked one of your parents one time. But anyway, Rita laughs along with the joke, and then they're off to some cookie-cutter community to lay shingles. After they eat some marijuana gummies, of course. Way to start the day, fellas. On the job site, Bear meets the rest of the crew, which consists of a guy named Danny, and it appears as if he and Danny know each other, but have no reason to speak to each other. Interesting. Once on the roof, Charlie and Mark Don tell Bear to go get the board stretcher. So he does, but after a while, Danny tells him they're just fucking with him. There's no such thing as a board stretcher. It's not all hazing and jokes, though. There are some important conversations being had and lessons being learned up on that roof. Bear's first scare comes while trying to pick up a package of shingles. The sneakers he's wearing are not good for roofing, and he's not used to the weight of the shingles, so he slips and goes sliding down the roof. Danny catches him and helps him calm down. That's when Charlie tells Bear to help him put in some support boards. Nailing the boards down is a new challenge. I don't think Bear has ever used a hammer before. Charlie tells him to think about something that makes him mad. And we see Bear is thinking back to that phone call he had with his father back in episode 4 of season 1, where Pumpkin doesn't come to visit after promising that he would. Bear doesn't use that energy to hammer the nail, though. He takes a little bathroom break and is joined in the porta potties by the spirit himself. Luckily, Bear isn't in there to use the facilities. He's just having a bit of a freak out. All those first day jitters are getting to him. Then sliding down the roof and thinking about his father have only amplified his anxiety. On top of all that going on, he tells the spirit that's Daniel's dad up there, meaning Danny. He was not expecting that, and neither was I. This information was spoiled for me because I watched one of those extended trailers the Reservation Dogs Twitter account posted the day before this episode, which showed almost the entirety of the conversation between Bear and the spirit, so I knew that Daniel's dad was involved, and I'm a bit sad. I would have better liked to find out during the episode because I knew who Danny was as soon as he was introduced when they arrived on the job site. So I guess this is a warning to not watch those extended trailers on the Reservation Dogs Twitter account anymore. That's a lesson that I learned. Anyway, the spirit is funny as always, but also encourages Bear to not give up just because his tasks are hard. Spirit also starts telling Bear his life story about losing 7 children in a blizzard and being stolen by slave traders and made to push around a tree trunk and then fight in a gladiator pit. My husband happened to be watching this part with me and told me this is the story of Conan the Barbarian, and neither me nor Bear got this. I just thought the spirit lived a hell of a life before his horse stepped in a gopher hole and fell over and squashed him before the Battle of Little Bighorn. Bottom line, grief is not something that you just get over. You have to work through it. You go through whatever rituals it takes for you to become the person who can carry on without the person that you lost. It's important for you and for them that you're okay, and you kind of owe it to them to put the work in. During lunch, Bear calls Charlie Uncle Charlie, so I'm not sure if they're related. Charlie says him, Danny, and Pumpkin used to play basketball together all the time, so maybe this is Pumpkin's brother? Whatever. Bear is not happy to hear stories about his father and says as much. Mark Don pipes up to tell him he's not the only kid running around without a father. Danny chimes in saying most dads are bad. And Bear lets his mouth get away with him and tells Danny, you should know. Ouch. Danny leaves looking hurt, and Mark Don tells Bear, you gotta let a man make his mistakes because men learn from experience. If they make those mistakes again, it's because they're being careless, like him sliding down the roof. Now he knows to use support boards. In reference to Pumpkin, this logic holds true. Bear isn't Pumpkin's only abandoned child because Pumpkin is a careless man. In reference to Danny, though, I don't think the logic applies to him. Danny won't get a second chance to be a better father to Daniel. He's already learned that he was one of those bad dads. I think Bear is the one who made a mistake here by kicking Danny while he was already down. But the logic only applies if Bear recognizes his mistake. Then, if he does something like this again, he's the one being careless. But either way you look at it, Bear and Mark Don agree there's enough careless men running around. Later in the afternoon, Bear is sent to work with Danny, and he immediately apologizes for what he said at lunch. Danny doesn't respond to that, but he does show Bear how to lay shingles and hammer them into place. Bear actually uses the hammer this time while he's being encouraged in a good way, not being told to think about things that made him angry. I think this is a very important part of Bear's character that's being defined here, how he doesn't want to use his anger as some kind of motivation. Young boys are capable of a lot of destruction, but it doesn't seem like Bear is going to go down that road. Bear and Danny sit for a moment, and Danny opens up about what he's gone through in the last year. He's split with his partner. It's unclear if that was Daniel's mother or not, but he also moved out of their old house. He's stopped drinking, but he never stops thinking about what he could have done differently before. Bear tells Danny that he's sorry. He should have been a better friend, but Danny stops him and tells him that it wasn't his responsibility. The adults around Daniel should have seen the signs. I think it's very important for Bear to hear this coming from Danny so that he can forgive himself. Then Danny tells him what he thinks a man is. Someone who knows their actions have consequences, so you've got to make good choices the first time around. These words are so powerful coming from him, a man who lost the most important thing because of the decisions that he made. Then it is time to go home. They stand up and notice a bright glowing spot. No, it's not the sun. It's something else. It floats around in front of them, pulsing a little, and then disappears. Danny won't acknowledge what they saw, but he was definitely affected by it. And then it's the end of the workday. The first day of work, grown-up work, it's very important in everyone's life. And while not a whole lot of actual roofing got done here, Bear is a different man by the time that he returns home. The story isn't over yet. Bear gives his mom enough money to pay the electric bill for the month, and he is so proud of himself. He settles onto his bed for a well-earned rest, but suddenly Alora shows up at his window, looking like she's been crying. He's calm at first, but his anger builds, and he starts yelling at her about being a bad friend, for leaving him behind, but she finally interrupts him to tell him her grandma's dying. I couldn't fit this into the last review, but when Willie Jack went to ask receptionist Deb for a hair clip from Jackie, we saw Alora's grandma was at the clinic. I had an inkling that something was wrong with her, but I didn't expect it to come back up this soon. And I'm not even really sure that Alora is back in town. This could be a vision, or maybe a dream that Bear is having. He's lying on his bed after a long day at work, but this isn't like the usual visions Bear or even his mother usually have, so maybe this is happening at a point in time that Alora has made it back into town. Did she and Jackie tow her grandma's car back to the res? I mean, it's the only place they could go with no money, right? I guess we'll have to wait till next week to find out, because that is the last scene of the episode. This is the first episode that Bear had all to himself, and I think it was a hit. There were so many moments for lessons to be learned, even when Bear didn't appreciate the way the older guys were quote-unquote teaching him. This is the second time he's been shown this Indian way of teaching, where they just throw you into doing it and you figure it out while they make fun of you. The first time was back in Uncle Brownie's episode, where he's teaching the kids how to be warriors. But aside from that, this was a deep and powerful episode for Bear and for Danny, I'd like to think. He might not be able to ever fully overcome the death of his son, but he can prove to himself and those who think poorly of him that he is forever changed for the better. Maybe he can help his son's friends who think that what happened was their fault by doing exactly what he did for Bear. I just hope what he said will help Bear cope with his own grief. We've not seen him explore that much. He's had other issues he's been working through, but if he can put to rest some of his anxious spirit, I think it would be for the best. Bear has arranged to go to work next Saturday, so I wonder if we will see Danny more in the future. I hope he keeps on the up and up, as I do for everyone who's going through heavy stuff, but overall, I give this 4.5 stars. Would have been 5 full stars, but having the spirit actually make poop noises while sitting in the porta potty was unnecessary, and I'm not a fan of bathroom humor. I watch these videos on my lunch break. Have you tried to cry with a mouthful of ham sandwich? That's tough enough without having to listen to the spirit make ploppies. Jeez. But that is all that I have to say about this for now. You know I can't shut up about this show, but I have to stop at some point so that I can edit. So I appreciate you for making it this far. I would also appreciate a like. Maybe you could even subscribe if you're up for that. Either way, I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and y'all be sure to stay safe out there.